Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I don't think anyone knows more about the roadmap than the gentleman who wrote it, so I will yield back to
Okay.
to the chairman for some comments.
I find it interesting that the ranking member spent most of his time not talking about the health care law we're having a hearing on today, but about an individual member's proposal. Let me just say a couple of things, just to clear the air. Under my proposal, Medicare spending as a percentage of GDP never goes down from where it is today. It's actually higher at the end of the window. Point number one. Point number two, we grandfather the existing population at current Medicare growth rates. The short-term savings are about half of what PPACA is, and this scenario he's talking about applies to people 54 and below. People 55 and above grow at current rates, unlike the current law, which we just now went through. That's another point. We'll have to get into, and we had to do a hearing on this, about how best to reform Medicare. We know we're making promises to people in the future that will not be kept, that the government simply cannot be kept. So the question is, what's the best way to proceed? What's the most humane way to proceed? And what's the best way to reform this program so we get more bang for our buck, so that we turn healthcare spending into a virtuous cycle, like Mr. Foster just said, instead of a vicious cycle, which spins our debt and deficit out of control? Do we empower consumers, or do we price control from the government? What works best? And so I can go through point-by-point refutation of every one of those things that was done right there, only to simply say Medicare is the biggest driver of our debt. We're all kidding ourselves if we think the program can just go on as is, and the sooner we address it, the better off everybody is. The better we can guarantee my mom, who's been on it for a number of years, and everybody else's mom and dad can have the program they organize their lives around, and that future retirees have a program they actually can count on. That's the purpose of this particular bill that I introduced, and that hopefully is the purpose of what we're all trying to achieve. With that, Mr. Campbell.
If, Mr. Chairman, just for 30 seconds, sure. Just for fine. Yeah, look, as you referenced in your opening comments the fact that there was an alternative path forward, and I assume you were talking about your
no,
I think so. The point is that you're right with respect to its percentage GDP. You don't go over current GDP, but part of the testimony, as I understand from Mr. Foster, is he looks at both issues. There are similar questions raised. So, sure. With respect to that component. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.